and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren, and today I am going to look at a Casual Geographic video. This is the ridiculously random nature of gorillas. So, I like gorillas. They're my favorite part if I have to go to the zoo. I like to watch the gorillas. I can watch them for ages. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out why they are random. What makes them so strange. Cannot wait. If you want to see more stuff like this, make sure that you let me know by hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and checking out our other Casual Geographic videos. We have a whole playlist. I'll link it at the end. We have also, I've got lots of animal videos. I've got a whole playlist of Lindsay Nicole videos, too. You should check that out. Let's go.
The greatest trick Hollywood ever pulled was
Oh my god.
Hello, slide.
The greatest trick Hollywood ever pulled was convincing the world that gorillas were something to be scared of. Whole time it's an ADHD Uber ape built like a practical joke. The Gorilla-Casual is the opposite of a sleeper build. They look like a flash pass to being full-time horizontal, when really gorillas are unintentionally the most unserious animals on the planet. Almost every character trait that made them feared back in the day actually makes them adorably ridiculous when you have context. Like you've seen this picture, a gorilla beating its chest and maybe you next has to be one of the most intimidating sights in nature. The sound, though. That was not edited.
What?
The whole time this display sounds like an assault on bubble wrap. King Kong had you misunderstood. Only in a movie would you see this and hear the god of thunder. It's more like someone weaponizing bubble tea in a straw. Put on a blindfold and it's not threatening anybody but Bubble Buddy, because it sounds like his family flatlined by firing squad. It's fitting. It was widely believed that the peg pounding was considered an act of war, but newer research says that it might help gorillas avoid conflict altogether. In a study done by Edward Wright of the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Germany, it was found that the biggest, most brolic mountain gorillas actually produce the sounds with the lowest frequency. Something about larger air sacs near the larynx, but it's considered an honest signal of competitive ability, and between two prime apes, the one with the higher frequency flesh tap might just tap out of a fight before it happens.
Sure. It's like, I'm too soprano for this one, actually, boys. I'm gonna piece right on out there. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not realize it was that ridiculous of a noise.
So the chest beating actually allows smaller gorillas to avoid a fight they'd almost certainly lose, and lets gorillas choose the best option, since bigger males tend to be the first choice for intercourse. That's gonna be painfully ironic in a minute, but we'll get to that bridge.
Okay,
the other thing that apparently terrified early explorers into introverts was their jaw work. Gorillas have top 5 most inappropriate dental work for their profession, right up there with camels and the gelada monkey. It's a divine intervention that a lawnmower with limbs has a stronger bite force than lions, hyenas, and even a grizzly bear.
See, I did know
and
that.
If you watch gorilla ASMR, you can literally see the muscles attached to the sagittal crest. That crest is why the gorilla has a built-in mohawk. Lucky for literally everybody, gorillas only use those vice grip jaws to crush about 40 pounds of food a day. And you'll never be more grateful for their grocery list until you watch one peel a tree like a banana. All that food would mean nothing if they didn't also have a host of gut bacteria to help break it all down. But because all that bacterial work also produces gas, gorillas are almost in a perpetual state of flatulence. A troop of IBS apes break more wind than a bloated beached whale, and it's so constant that researchers occasionally track traveling families through their southbound symphony.
Oh my god, seriously? Tracking through farts. That's a new one. That's definitely a new one for me. Okay, though. But if it works, it works.
Used a gorilla coated.
I think this is just so funny because he usually spends all of his videos talking about how to respect the animal, or why they deserve respect, or whatever. And this is we're just gonna read Gorillas for Filth today. Even though I know he has videos where he talks about other the scariness of a gorilla and why you want to avoid messing with what. And now today we're talking about they're ridiculous.
Camera to gain insight into the secret society of this steroid simian, and what they found was that a well-fed family could blow a hole through the ozone layer. And out both ends. According to late gorilla expert Diane Fossey, gorillas burp as an act of goodwill and contentment. And in some cultures, letting it out the attic is considered a compliment.
Yeah, it is.
Might as well have gotten it from a knuckle-walking cow ape. On a less audibly offensive note, gorillas have also been recorded singing while they eat. Researchers refer to it as a chorus of appreciation. It's pretty cool. Check it out.
it's not just us then who makes noises of appreciation like that when we eat something particularly good. Like, cue that clip of Meg Ryan with the sandwich in the Harry Met Sally movie.
Basically living in their version of a giant gingerbread house has Gorilla Gang singing out both ends. It's also a fact that they sing louder when eating their favorite foods like this banana tree stalk. And the funniest thing is, in the wild, the lead singer is actually the silverback. Science says he uses singing, or well, more like humming, to tell the group when it's time to stop and eat. And you know the law, when Silverback speaks, everyone listens, and when he sings, it's time for fixings.
I like that saying.
But I'm not hungry. Okay, jeez. It makes sense. Few things are more dominant than the lead silverback male. You know he's the one calling all the shots and making all the decisions for a troop of up to and sometimes over 30. One could say that is the peak male form. And you're that painfully ironic thing I promised? Well, it's about that time, but before you judge me, I'm just gonna remind you that this is strictly educational.
Does the biggest, baddest gorilla have the teeniest dick?
But I would feel weird if I didn't say this, so if you're a child, an adult with a child, or an adult who thinks they're a child, skip to this timestamp right here. Or don't, I can't stop you, but don't let your parents blame me if you don't. Here's an ad while you consider the cost of curiosity. So, fun fact about a silverback, they're the largest apes in the world, can weigh in the neighborhood of 500 pounds, and when their privates stand at attention, they're about 3/4 short of 2 inches. They don't just have the smallest waist snake of any ape, it's widely believed gorillas have the smallest member of any mammal relative to body size.
Wow, aw. Poor guys.
I promise you he doesn't. In fact, if we scaled for size, you have a better chance at Subway of seeing a foot long than from a Giga Kong. I swear I'm not just using this for Richard jokes, there's actually a reason.
That's actually pretty good though. Like, cause the footlongs at Subway are notoriously not footlongs. So like the fact that you'd have a better chance of seeing, you know what? Why I shouldn't explain the joke.
Gorillas ended up hung like a hamster. When you look at how all the great apes measure up, you'll 1, end up on a list, incognito can't save you, but 2, you'll realize humans have more appendical advantages than just a long thumb.
Hey, how's it going?
Chimps, bonobos, and orangutans are roughly about the same, but nature seemed to maliciously undercut gorillas in particular. Believe it or not, it's a direct reflection of how they live. Chimpanzees live in polyandrous packs where females can mate with multiple males, so there was evolutionary pressure for them to develop heavy huevos, since the more baby batter one can produce, the better chances one of his little swimmers wins the race to reality, which led to chimps having a massive man purse.
Dang.
Dirty. With humans,
yeah, you should.
It's that
I feel
earlier
dirty and I
variants
didn't
may
even
have
see
selected for the more groinally gifted, especially with humans.
God, the use of the oh man. I will say his use of clips in this one has been peak. I have tea, not a drink. The drink, but you know.
Being more bipedal, it'd probably be more of a factor. Eventually, that led to humans having more to flex under the waistband than just 9mm. But with gorillas, it's different. They often live in harems where all the females in a group practice their multiplication tables with the one silverback, which means they didn't have the selective pressure of dealing with other males like chimps, or even the pressure of females having a choice like humans. Also, another theory is that a larger Nixon might have helped shovel out rival nectar. Again, something a back of silver doesn't have to worry about.
I will also say, speaking of rival Nixons, I read something the other day that just made me laugh. It was from a teacher, and they were talking about their history teacher. They're talking about Watergate to their like 14-year-olds, right? And so they were like, so you can't use the phrase tricky dick, even though that was a legitimate nickname for Richard Nixon. You can't use the name tricky dick in a group of 14-year-olds because, well, they're a group of 14-year-olds, but the 14-year-olds in question, because that phrase of tricky dick has been banned, have started to refer to Nixon as treacherous Richard. And I'm obsessed. I love that. I think they should have been calling him treacherous Richard from the get-go. I love it. It's so Shakespearean.
Ties back to the chest beating. Being an absolute unit was already so much of a flex that evolution didn't have to juice their stats in other ways. But unfortunately,
I guess you know what they say, it's not the size of the tool, it's how you use it.
Gorillas are built like an anti-steroid ad. But also consider this, silverbacks are the embodiment of what podcast bros call an alpha male. If humans were truly to take cues from them, forget Snickers, we'd be packing a Skittle. And with that, I am going to power wash my search history.
Please do.
Also, silverbacks aren't the aggressive jocks that movies made them out to be. Turns out, they're a lot more involved in raising children than we thought. Research actually shows that if a gorilla were to lose its mother, as long as it still isn't living off her milk, they'd still have an equal shot at surviving. It's because silverbacks don't give child support, they are the child support. It's even been proven that gorillas are more attracted to the sensitive, child-nurturing males and not really the aggressive bully types, which is probably why they put up with so much disrespect and why the father instinct might not just apply to gorillas. You might remember in 1986, a child fell into a gorilla enclosure, crazy how often that happens, and 400-pound Yumbo went over and tried to comfort the unconscious boy. Even when the boy came to and understandably panicked, instead of wilding out at the sudden disturbance, Yumbo calmly guided the other gorillas to a corner of the enclosure while first responders rescued the boy. Ironically, this was during a time the majority thought gorillas were bloodthirsty savages patrolling the underbrush of Africa. That literally could not have been further from the truth. In fact, it led to one of the most infuriating arguments I keep letting myself get baited into. Anytime someone brings up gorilla versus grizzly, all I can think is, you don't know gorillas, and you really don't know grizzlies. Forget bears, there's cases of leopards causing problems for a plus-size primate, with records finding past tense gorillas with puncture wounds around the head and neck. Now, leopard attacks on a full-grown male are rare. But if a 150-pound big cat is a genuine threat, a 10-foot, 900-pound revenant plot device would slaughter a roid monkey. And really, the more
grizzly bears are terrifying. Not gonna lie. I'm glad I live at I don't live in an area that has them. Like, country that has them, yes. But I've never, I don't think, been to any of the places that have them prevalent. You know? Like, most of the wooded areas I've been to, they might have like a mountain lion or something, which, you know, whatever. I've only seen a bobcat like once. But like, have not been to an area that has lots of bears. I've never been to an area that has lots of giant, terrifying creatures like that. I mean, I went to South Dakota once and I saw buffalo from really far away, but that was it.
The more you think about it, the more disrespectful the question.
Oh, I've seen alligators. That's the scary predator thing that I've seen up close and personal is alligators. Lots of alligators.
10-foot, 900-pound revenant plot device would slaughter a roid monkey. And really, the more you think about it, the more disrespectful the question is. Y'all stay playing on a grizzly's body. Especially since the gorilla himself wouldn't even want that smoke. For all that bulk, they'd definitely rather run away than run a fade. Imagine thinking they can match up with a grizzly when gorillas can get humbled by a change in weather. And I just love that gorillas in captivity and in the wild have no problems playing in the water, but when it falls out the sky, it's suddenly unacceptable. Also, that's what they were doing. That gave its owner a heart attack until she realized the only victim was a jar of jam. Turns out gorillas might have done the same to early explorers. One can only imagine seeing the blood-soaked fangs of this behemoth up close, only to realize gorilla grills come from the tannins in their diet, and for reference, tannins are the same ingredient that makes coffee bitter. And I think that's just gorillas in a nutshell. They look like they could do an absolute number on the human population, but I could not find one verified case of a gorilla murking a person.
Wow.
May have been made, but if you watch this video, you know she basically begged for it.
Yeah.
Plus, it's captivity.
Yeah, I do remember that video. She did.
Have to try to get gorilla gloves put on you. They genuinely give you every possible warning before they do. And even if you ignore the chest beat, the flashing teeth, and all the other signs a gorilla might give you, usually the most they'll ever do is bluff charge. Now let me not be ridiculous, a gorilla could absolutely turn you into a human jigsaw puzzle. And for all I'm talking, a bluff charge from a gorilla would have my soul pump faking the higher power. But gorillas got stuck with the monster label, which means it distracted people from the fact that they're the most unserious animals on Earth. What do I mean? Well, you remember what I said about silverbacks being fathers? Well, this is Koko. Koko is a proud father of 4 who loves nothing more than to play with his children. Problem is, sometimes his mate isn't too eager to let him rock with such a small baby, so in all of Koko's infinite wisdom, he came up with a
Is this the one who steals his kid? Like, does like these little kidnappings?
Solution. He f***ing kidnapped her.
Yeah.
Repeatedly. And yes, he did this with all his children, proving it really is a game to him. I'm sorry, you can't. You're telling me I'm supposed to be afraid of this? This is chronically unserious.
I've got the baby! I got the baby! I got the baby! I got the baby! I mean, I guess it like does kind of transcend species, though. That dad is a little bit more ridiculous when it comes to playing with the babies. I remember like we used to do like wrestling and like all sorts of like weird games. And my mom would freak out because, or we played Don't Go in the Backyard, which was a game where my dad would like lie on the bed. And then my brother and I were not allowed in the backyard, which was the other side of him. So it's like he had the, big queen size bed and we were tiny. So it's like he'd lie in the middle. We'd be on one side of him. There's space on the other side. Don't go in the backyard means we can't go across him. We would go and, jump across and he'd, grab us and like throw us to the other side of the bed. And like my mom did not like this game. Quite a few of the games involved him grabbing us and chucking us around, and she didn't like those games because she was always afraid that one of us was going to whack our face against a corner table or something, which I don't think ever happened.
But not unsurprising, gorillas have a genuine sense of humor. Had Mary and Cooper have known, King Kong might have had a different storyline. Like Exhibit B, watch enough gorilla videos and you'll notice they have an interesting habit of grenading. As in, they'll throw something and immediately run away like Skeletor. Now, you could argue it's a territorial, non-verbal way to tell humans to F off.
Yeah, it could be.
But that goes against my narrative, so I'm gonna disregard it. Also, they've done it so many times exactly like this, it's like, how am I not supposed to see this as a prank? And if you need more proof, Koko,
it does kind of look like Ding Dong Ditchin'.
Gorilla once tied her caretaker's shoelaces together and then signed the word chase. Now I know there's been a dispute as to whether Koko actually learned sign language or was just a master mimic that learned sign language the same way dogs learn words like sit. There's a much more nuanced conversation to be had on whether Koko was a genuine case of comprehension or just memorization and regurgitation. But that's not why I'm mentioning her here. It's because she was involved in one of the most absurd lawsuits I've ever read. In 2005, 3 female former staff members filed a lawsuit against the Gorilla Foundation, because allegedly Koko was demanding that the workers flash her, and no, I do not mean with lights. According to Nancy Alperin and Kendra Keller, program director Francine Patterson told them that Koko had an obsession of the mammary variety and pressured them to expose their upper halves to the gorilla, even implying that their jobs would be in danger if they refused. They refused. And some of the quotes that would come out of this suit are almost too ridiculous to be real. And apparently Koko did not discriminate, with one man recounting a time Koko went up to him and demanded to see his human headlights, at a party no less. He didn't even say no, he said later, and according to him, Patterson put an arm around him and basically hit him with the, "Do you really want to say no to her?" There were other complaints like unpaid overtime, dangerous work environment, them apparently storing gorilla urine in the same fridge they ate out of, but none as outrageous as a 350-pound bosom bandit. Especially when you find out Patterson would switch up majorly when big-time donors came around. What do I mean? Well, apparently whenever Koko would make one of her requests in front of a possible benefactor, Patterson would just say, "Oh, nipple sounds like people." So what she's really saying is she wants to see more people. Yeah, they should have read the verdict right there, because who even lies like that? I don't think that's how sign language works. The case was settled out, of course, so I guess we'll never know, but to be fair, how would multiple people lie about something like that? It means gorillas are the only animals to be formally accused of harassment of the sensually explicit kind.
But, I mean, it sounds like that's what she learned. Like, even if she was just mimicking, then Patterson taught her that, right? It's like, it's something that she did learn. And if she was curious, it could be like, because like she doesn't wear any clothes. And so not being able to see, it's like, wait a minute, I got to double check to make sure that you are what you say you are. Which is, I don't think what the actual gorilla was thinking, but a confusion aspect could be there. If the request was hers and genuine, right? I don't know. I feel like things that I've learned about Koko recently are things like it's the reason people think it was just a mimicry thing is because though sometimes what the conversations that would have, they did make sense, but other times they just super didn't. She just flashed words. But it's like, but that's how everything kind of starts, isn't it? Like dogs memorize what sit sounds like and they learn the word, they can learn walk. They have those dogs that know where the buttons are. Like, I was reading at 18 months old because, like, I recognized where words on the page was because I had them memorized, Like, the little golden books. Like, I could be flipping through the golden book and, like, know what a word was on that page, but it wasn't really reading because I couldn't do it for a book I'd never seen before, just on the ones that I knew, But I don't know. So, I mean, but that's how it starts. That's how it starts, though.
It also proves that gorillas are just like us. They can multitask and focus on 2 things at once. I mean, they only share 98% of our DNA, and for the loud minority that's gonna somehow take offense, or make it racist, because I read the comments, I challenge you to spend a day watching a gorilla and tell me it's not an impulsive human in a fursuit. Like, I bet half of y'all didn't even realize that's a gorilla walking in the background. Yeah, this was a pretty unserious video for a remarkably unserious creature, but the point wasn't really to Disneyfy a wild animal. That's arguably as bad as turning them into monsters. But there is so much more to gorillas than a fade with Godzilla or the US Army, and I kind of wanted to show that. Especially when you realize gorillas have been getting slaughtered for as long as we've known about them, for bushmeat, for trophies, pets, and sometimes just for the sport, so us calling them dangerous is kind of wild. But I get it. Talk is cheap when it's in front of a green screen. So if this video gets 200,000 likes, I will meet a gorilla in person. Somewhere. Or an orangutan, and that works too. But until then, drink water, hug your mother, never smile at a gorilla. Fun fact, clearing your throat sends a much better message. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Good to know.
Oh, that's a good shot. She's looking like dead at it.
Aw. She's like, hey. That could be fun. I'll go and hang out at the zoo for a minute, and I'll I'll bring a mirror to show the gorillas. That could be fun. I do appreciate the dichotomy, the switching around, showing us a different side of these creatures. I've like I said though, I've always really liked gorillas. I think they're cool. I just always have liked them. And like again, we have them at the Lincoln Park Zoo. So like I don't go to the zoo very often. It's been well over a year since the last time I was there for zoo lights. But I like the gorilla the gorilla enclosures. I've always found that was fun. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I do hope that you enjoy this video. If you want to see more animal stuff, then there's lots of it already here. And if there's something that I haven't looked at, go ahead and let me know what I should be looking at. And I'll see you in the next one.